This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. Today we'll be discussing about Wilms tumor. Okay. Also called as nephroblastoma. Wilms tumor also called as nephroblastoma. Why blastoma? Why blastoma? Is there any significance of calling it as a blastoma? We can call it as a Wilms tumor, right? So blastoma, as we already know, blast means immature cell, right? So basing on the microscopy, we will be discussing it later. It is called as nephroblastoma. Okay, it is an embryonic tumor derived from the renal epithelial and mesenchymal components, and it is the most common primary tumor of the kidney in children. Coming to pathogenesis, it occurs as we already know, like every tumor has two forms, right? Hereditary and sporadic. Hereditary means germline mutations, like the mutations are present since birth or derived from the parents, right? Sporadic forms, these are due to acquired mutations, right? So coming to hereditary nephroblastomas, three groups of congenital malformations are associated with increased risk for Wilms tumor. Those are WAGR syndrome, which is associated with Wills tumor, aniridia, genital abnormalities, and mental retardation. This is associated with the genetic mutations of WT1 gene. Okay, Dennis-Drash syndrome, which is associated with gonadal dysgenesis, early onset nephropathy, and Wilms tumor. It is also associated with genetic mutations of WT1 gene. Okay, Beckwith-Whitman syndrome. It is associated with organomegaly and tumorigenesis. It is associated with WT2 gene. What is the difference in this WT2 gene is it increases the expression of insulin-like growth factor. As we already know, growth factor, insulin-like growth factor is increased in these conditions, leading to organomegaly, increasing the size of the organs, tumorigenesis as well as. Okay. Genetic abnormalities. So, as we already discussed, genetic abnormalities involved in pathogenesis of Wilms tumor, that is hereditary are WT1 and WT2 genes. Okay. In sporadic cases, there are different mutations. Those are beta catenin, TP53, gene encoding proteins involving in microRNA processing, like dicer1. You know, dicer1 is an enzyme that is required for the production of microRNAs, right? From pro-microRNA to microRNA. In the first chapter, cell as an individual unit, you are going to, or you read about microRNAs, right? These microRNAs act like a switch between whether the messenger RNA should be translated or not. So, if these microRNAs are mutated or not formed properly, then there will be tumorigenesis, right? So it is postulated that aberrations in microRNA processing leads to reduced levels of many mature microRNAs, in particularly the family of microRNA 200 family, which is involved in mesenchymal to epithelial transformation, which is very important in renal morphogenesis. Okay, so renal morphogenesis, for the formation of kidney, these microRNA family is very important. Okay, so kidney is not formed properly, right? So there may be immature cells, right? That's why the name is nephroblastoma. Blast means immature cell. As you already know, in leukemias there will be myoblast. In lymphomas, lymphoblasts. Okay, those are immature cells, right? In nephroblastoma, blast cells means immature cells. As it occurs in kidney, it is called as nephroblastoma. Okay. The lack of mesenchymal to epithelial transformation likely leads to persistent blastomal rest in the kidney, which evolve into Wilms tumor, as I already said. Okay, so grossly, this is large, solitary, well circumscribed mass, which is mostly unilateral. 5 to 10% cases, it is bilateral. Okay, on cut section, the tumor is soft, homogeneous, tan to gray, with occasional foci of hemorrhage and cystic change, and degeneration and necrosis. Okay, See here, you can see well circumscribed tumor in the lower pole of the kidney. This is the atrophied kidney. Okay, this is the ureter hilar structures. Okay, see, this is the tumor, which is more or less homogeneous, somewhat nodular. Okay, microscopically, different stages of nephrogenesis can be seen. As we already discussed in the pathogenesis, renal morphogenesis is arrested. So, different stages of nephrogenesis can be seen microscopically. The classic triphasic composition, like blastemal component, stromal component, epithelial cell types are observed. Okay, blast. The name indicates blast. So immature cells. The immature cells are arranged in small sheets. Okay, sheets of small blue cells. Epithelial component. We all know kidney composed of cortex, collecting ducts, tubules, right? Glomeruli. Okay, so the epithelial component seems like developing tubules or glomeruli. They are not fully formed, but they are about to form. Okay, the stages are you see, like maybe in the future they may form into tubules or glomeruli. Okay, you will be observing like that. Okay, stromal component, interspersed component is stromal component. It is usually fibrocystic or myxoid in nature. See here, you can see the, as if this is going to form a tubule. Okay, this is very abortive tubule or glomeruli. Okay, see, the cells are arranged in the form of a tubule or rosette. Okay, so this is the epithelial component. Okay, here there is no particular arrangement. The cells are just lying there, solid sheets. Okay, this is the blastemal component. This red circle is the blastemal component. Black circle is the epithelial component. Here this is the fibrocystic stromal component. Yellow circle is the stromal component. Okay, so you can see three main components: blastemal component, epithelial component, and the stromal component. Blastemal component, as the name indicates, blastemal, like immature cells. Okay, immature cells without any configuration, they just lie there in solid sheets. Okay, epithelial. Okay, the name indicates epithelium, right? So somewhat more better than the blastemal component. So they differentiate into tubules or glomeruli. Okay, they look like, okay, abortive tubules or glomeruli. Okay, this is the epithelial component. This is the blastemal component, and this is the stromal component, which is usually fibroblast, just spindle cells kind. Okay, see, you can see here, this is the blastemal component, this is component. Okay, see here, as if it is going into glomeruli, it is a poorly formed glomerulus. This formed, so 5% of tumors contain foci of anaplasia, cells with large hyperchromatic pleomorphic nuclei and abnormal mitosis. Okay, presence of anaplasia correlates with the presence of TP53 mutation. Okay, nephrogenic rests are putative precursor lesions of Wilms tumor. Okay, nephrogenic rests are considered to be a precursor lesion of a Wilms tumor. If you see a nephrogenic rest, you should report it. Presence of nephrogenic rest indicates the patient is going to develop Wilms tumor in the contralateral kidney also. It acts as a prognostic factor for the doctor to consider the options of treatment. Okay, see, this is anaplastic cell with abnormal atypical mitotic figure. This indicates maybe the patient is harboring TP53 mutation, which can lead to poor prognosis of the case. Okay, generally Wilms tumor, classic cases of Wilms tumor are associated with good prognosis. But if the patient is having TP53, there may be resistance to the chemotherapy, or they may progress into malignancy somewhat later. Okay, TP53 mutation should be considered in these cases where the Wilms tumor shows features of anaplasia. Okay, anaplasia can be seen as cells more than 3%, 3 times the bigger size, atypical mitotic figures, hyperchromatic nucleus. Okay. So clinical features, how the patient present to you usually is palpable abdominal mass. This is more common in children, like 5 to 10 years, 6 years. Okay, palpable abdominal mass, hematuria, pain, abdominal pain, fever, intestinal obstruction. Sometimes this goes into large or 10 centimeters like that. There will be obstructive symptoms, pressurized symptoms on intestine, bladder. Okay, so there will be intestinal obstruction also. Okay, so prognosis is generally good prognosis, and okay, this is the case. Present is generally present in a specimen. Okay, see, this is the cut open nephrectomy specimen. See, half nephrectomy is kept like this. Okay, cut open nephrectomy specimen with the tumor component at the upper pole. See, here you can see this is the normal kidney. Okay, you can differentiate somewhat into cortex and medulla. Here you cannot differentiate it. There is a growth, nodular growth on the upper pole. Okay, which is friable. Okay, somewhat cystic area is seen. Okay, gray brown. So probably it can be Wilms tumor. Okay, see here, microscopically you can observe the main things you need to remember is microscope. This is the most common primary tumor of the childhood. Okay, primary renal tumor of the children, and associated with three syndromes: WAGR syndrome, Beckwith-Whitman syndrome, Dennis-Trush syndrome. Okay, and in hereditary cases, sporadic cases, TP53, beta-catenin, and microRNA processing mutations. Okay, dicer1 mutations. Okay, pathogenesis, that is for pathogenesis. And coming to gross, solitary, well circumscribed, homogeneous mass. Okay, large, usually unilateral mass. Microscopically, these three components you need to remember. Okay, blastomal component, epithelial component, and stromal component. Blastomal component, sheets of small blue cells. The tumor cells are arranged in of about, okay. Epithelial component, the tubules are glomeruli. Okay. Stromal component, usually fibrocystic, myxoid. This is the stromal component. Okay. These are the three main features you need to remember on the microscopy in case of Wilms tumor. Okay. And nephrogenic risks are considered to be the precursor lesions of this Wilms tumor. Okay, and anaplasia is considered when there is atypical mitotic figures or increased cell to cell ratio more than three times, hyperchromatic nucleus. Okay, which usually observe harbors TP50, TP53 mutation. Okay, associated with bad prognosis. So overall, Wilms tumor is associated with good prognosis. Treatment consists of a combination of nephrectomy and chemotherapy. That's all. I hope I got it clear for you all. Okay. Thank you so much. Stay home, stay safe.